Hello and welcome to NDTV 24/7. I'm Rohit Wellington. Our top story, the ugly political fight over Delhi's oxygen demand in April. The centre's affidavit, which has a report from a doctors' panel, says that Delhi's oxygen demand was inflated. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has responded strongly to it, saying that while you had rallies, I stayed up arranging for oxygen. The affidavit, meanwhile, shows that 2 of the 5 members in the panel dissented with the report.
The traumatic few weeks in April-May when Delhi ran short of oxygen.
ब्लैक सैटरडे के रूप से मैं उसको देखता हूँ। कोई ऐसी जगह नहीं छोड़ी जहाँ पर हमको इंफॉर्मेशन न भेजे।
मेरे भाई साहब और भाभी दोनों की होगी, दोनों की इकट्ठी कर दीजिए ऑक्सीजन की वजह से। ऑक्सीजन नहीं था जी।
You have 130 patients on your shoulders in your hospital and your oxygen is running out.
They were my patients. They were my responsibility. They came on faith of Dr. Baruja and Jeff Golden Hospital.
Now this affidavit filed in the top court by the centre has created a political slugfest in the capital. A senior official told the Supreme Court subgroup headed by the AIIMS director that Delhi used the wrong formula to calculate oxygen requirement and made exaggerated claims. Top union ministers, including the finance minister and BJP leaders, tweeted the report to target the Kejriwal government. The Delhi chief minister retorted on Twitter, "While you were holding election rallies, I was awake all night arranging for oxygen. People have lost their loved ones due to lack of oxygen. Don't call them liars. They feel so bad." While the Delhi government officials have deposed before the panel, the AAP government refuses to acknowledge the interim report as it says there are no signatories.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी के नेता सुबह से जिस तथाकथित रिपोर्ट के हवाले से अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को गाली दिए जा रहे हैं, वैसी कोई रिपोर्ट एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करती।
ये विश्वास हम नहीं कर पा रहे हैं कि ऑक्सीजन को लेकर जिस प्रकार की राजनीति अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने और दिल्ली सरकार ने किया, आज उसका पर्दाफाश हुआ है। जब यह रिपोर्ट इंटरिम रिपोर्ट ऑफ ऑक्सीजन ऑडिट इन एनसीटी ऑफ दिल्ली पैनल के रिपोर्ट में जिस प्रकार का विषय सामने आया है, वो चौंकाने वाला है।
The centre's contention is that there's a discrepancy of about 4 times in the actual oxygen consumption claimed versus the calculated formula. The centre's formula on oxygen demand is based on 50% of non-ICU beds use oxygen. But the Delhi government points out that this assumption is not correct for COVID-19, a respiratory disease, and that in fact almost all hospitalized patients need a regular supply of oxygen. The Delhi government says that the panel was yet to do an actual on-ground audit of hospitals to resolve this. The biggest flashpoint was on Delhi's stated demand for 700 metric tons of oxygen in the Supreme Court. The centre has disputed this, saying some hospitals couldn't differentiate between KL and MT and same was not examined while projecting 700 MTs. However, the Delhi government rebutted this, telling the panel that calculation of 700 MT is fully in line with ICMR guidelines and directions of the Government of India, and that this projection was based on active cases, which was around 1 lakh. Interestingly, the objections by the Delhi government were made by its Principal Secretary Home, who is also a member of the audit group. The panel is led by the AIIMS director, Dr. Guleria.
So there are 2 dissenting voices as far as this interim report is concerned. One is of course the Delhi government, where you say that they have in the affidavit said that there are errors with regard to the findings and observations on the merits of the report. To their own report, this is what they have to say. They say that the assumption that only 50% of non-ICU beds use oxygen is not correct in the context of a respiratory disease like COVID-19. In fact, almost all hospitalized patients need a regular supply of oxygen. Now, this is not just the view of the Delhi government. Even Max Hospital, the group medical director who is part of this committee, Dr. Sandeep Buddhiraja, has said that the methodology did not take into account oxygen cylinder refilling and non-COVID requirements of hospitals. It was suggested on the basis of actual consumption and not on the basis of a formula. So it's very interesting how out of the 5, 2 people have submitted dissent notes saying that the formula that has been used to arrive at this conclusion may not be correct.
The centre's contention is also based on 4 Delhi hospitals wrongly claiming high consumption of oxygen with few beds. For now, the panel has recommended that 300 metric tons should be made available to Delhi on a short basis and additional quota of 100 metric tons also be made available to Delhi. Delhi to keep a buffer stock of 50 to 100 metric tons for any emergency. Current requirement of Delhi is between 290 and 400 metric tons.
On 30th June, the top court will take up issues relating to the pandemic, vaccine policy, availability of oxygen, etc. The hearing on that day is likely to be stormy, with the centre and the Delhi government taking their political fight to the courtroom. With Sharat Sharma in New Delhi, this is Arunachalam Vaidyanathan, NDTV.
The other big story, Union Minister for Information Technology Ravi Shankar Prasad on Friday said that Twitter denied him access to his account for almost an hour over complaints that he violated copyright law by posting clips of himself from television debates. Ravi Shankar Prasad said that Twitter denied access to account for almost an hour. He said that he was allowed to access accounts subsequently. Now, on alleged ground that there was violation of Digital Millennium Copyright Act. That's why he was denied access to the account. The act can be invoked by copyright users to flag use of their content without consent. The minister said that it's apparent that my statements calling out high-handedness, arbitrary actions of Twitter, sharing clips of my interviews to channels ruffled its feathers. The Twitter said that we confirm that the minister's account access was temporarily restricted due to DMCA notice only. The social media platform Twitter said that the reference tweet has been withheld. The tweet in question was from 2017. Now to the latest on coronavirus. The cases of Delta Plus variant of coronavirus have gone up to 48. The new mutation has now spread to 11 states according to official data. Let's look at the breakup of the cases. Maharashtra has 20 cases, Madhya Pradesh 7, Punjab, Gujarat 2 each, Kerala has 3 cases, Andhra Pradesh 1, Tamil Nadu has 9 cases, Odisha, Rajasthan, Jammu and Karnataka have 1 case each. And the government has called for focused and stringent measures in districts where the Delta Plus variant has been detected. These are the districts where the new strain has now been detected. The centre has written to chief secretaries asking them to take immediate containment measures in these districts and clusters, including preventing crowds and intermingling of people, widespread testing, prompt tracing, as well as vaccine coverage on priority basis. 10 people have been arrested by the Mumbai police in the fake vaccination scam in the city, in which at least 2,000 people, according to the police, were injected with saline water instead of COVID vaccine. Saurabh Gupta reports.
And prima facie, saline water must have been administered. We suspect real vials, real vaccines, which were used, whether they are crushed or not. They are claiming that those were crushed. And those were refilled and with this kind of saline water, distilled water.
Shocking revelations by the Mumbai police. 2 doctors arrested for a massive vaccination scam. At least 2,000 people may have been injected with saline water instead of the COVID vaccine for which they paid. The police have registered 7 cases and arrested 10 people, including the doctors, and freezed the bank accounts of the main accused. The police have also recovered around 12 lakh rupees from the accused. But the key part of the investigation is tracing the journey of the vials that were used.
We are certain and confident that this all vials, the route goes to one hospital, and we have arrested both the doctors from that hospital. 114 fake certificates loaded on COVID app have been received so far.
For the police now, the key job is to figure out who received what. The hospital, Shivam Hospital, where the vials seem to have come from, has not been able to tell the police the exact usage of their vaccine stocks. But for those who receive jabs through the fraudsters, the worry is huge. The Mumbai police have booked the accused under strong sections of the law, including culpable homicide not amounting to murder, to send a message to those indulging in fraud during the pandemic and playing with lives of people. Meanwhile, the Bombay High Court has asked the BMC to come up with a policy on an urgent basis to prevent such incidents in the future. With camera person Sanjay Mandal in Mumbai, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
All right, now pregnant women can and should be vaccinated against COVID-19. That's what the Union Health Ministry said on Friday evening, signalling a policy change that follows growing concern over exposure of expectant mothers and their children to the deadly virus.
So in terms of pregnancy, the Ministry of Health has given this guideline that they can be given, the vaccine can be given. We have also demonstrated from the ICMR, from the Preg-COVID registry, that vaccination is useful in pregnant and it should be given.
Now, there is COVID-appropriate behavior inside metro trains in Delhi, but following COVID behavior at metro station seems to have gone for a toss. Long queues outside metro stations are visible across Delhi. Akshay Dongre has this report.
Strict social distancing inside the Delhi metro, but chaos outside. As crowds jostle to enter metro stations with zero social distancing and a wait stretching over hours during peak office time. At Rajiv Chowk, Delhi's biggest metro station, Rajesh Kumar, a shopkeeper who takes the metro every day, says the crowd are a health hazard, but he has no option.
यहाँ पर आप देख लीजिए किसी में भी सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग है नहीं, मेरे बगल में देख लीजिए लिफ्ट पास खड़े सब एक दूसरे चिपके हुए। गवर्नमेंट तो कदम उठा रही है, पर हम लोग को भी थोड़ा समझना चाहिए। लेट हो रहे हैं, वो हो रहा है, बट जिस हिसाब से भी निकला है ना, उस स्थिति से सही है, बट प्रॉब्लम तो है।
Ruchi, a lawyer, says more time at the metro stations to her means lesser time she gets to spend with her family.
चैलेंज आ रहा है, बहुत चैलेंज आ रहा है, काम में भी सफर हो रहा है, घर में भी लेट पहुंच रहे हैं, बच्चे भी हैं घर पे, देखिए बहुत चैलेंजेस तो हैं।
In a statement, Delhi Metro Rail Corporation said some crowding inevitable due to COVID restrictions. Present passenger carrying capacity only 10 to 15% due to the restrictions. Only alternate sitting in metros. No standing allowed.
While the primary reason behind COVID restrictions inside a metro stations remain maintenance of social distancing, that very purpose is being defeated outside the metro station with these long queues of commuters. With no attempt by either DMRC or the local authorities to manage the crowds, this is not only causing great inconvenience to the commuters but also poses a risk of health hazard. With camera person Prem Singh, I'm Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
All right, now let's shift focus to Rajasthan. After 86 days, the state has not reported a single COVID death in the last 24 hours. The last time this happened was on the 30th of March. The COVID graph is on a decline. Jaipur has recorded just about 12 cases and 8 districts have not reported a single case in the past one day. But the Health Department is warning against letting your guard down.
Rajasthan's biggest COVID hospital, the RUHS, with a capacity of 1,200 beds, it was accommodating up to 1,800 patients when COVID was at its peak. Now it's treating only 100 patients.
1800-1700 का फिगर था, वो लिमिटेड ड्रॉप होता होता 104 पर आ गया। आज की आईपीडी का फिगर हमारे पास 104 है और 104 को भी मैं अब क्लासिफाइड करूं तो 60 पेशेंट अभी भी हमारे पास आईसीयू में हैं, जो कि पोस्ट कोविड के अंदर पोस्ट कोविड कॉम्प्लिकेशन का ट्रीटमेंट ले रहे हैं। सिमिलरली 60 के साथ में 44 पेशेंट अभी भी हमारे पास वार्ड में हैं और जिस ढंग से ये पेशेंट ड्रॉप हुए हैं वो कंपैरेटिवली एक सुकून और एक उस तरह से जनता के लिए राहत का भी मैसेज है।
During the peak of the second wave, Rajasthan was recording over 10,000 COVID positive cases per day. And the total figure of deaths due to the disease stands at 8,905. But for the first time, no COVID deaths have been reported for 2 days. And there is a sense of relief. At this COVID crematorium, a month ago, there were queues to get a buyer. But today, not a single pyre can be seen burning.
पिछले 2 महीनों के अंदर कोविड की इतनी गोलियां आती थी, एक एक दिन में 30-30, 40-40, 50-50 गोलियां आती थी और इस समय हफ्ते में 1 या 2 गोलियां।
But while there may be relief, it's time to prepare for the future. RUHS is getting a new wing with 100 beds. Oxygen generation is being increased in the state. And a cause for worry is the first Delta Plus variant detected in the state in Bikaner. A month ago, you could not get a bed at this hospital, Rajasthan's biggest hospital for COVID patients, the RUHS. But today, the OPD is practically empty. And the state government has heaved a sigh of relief. Cases have fallen dramatically below 200. Some districts are such they're not even reporting a single case. And hearteningly, in the past 48 hours, there has not been a single death due to COVID. But experts warn that if the situation is to continue, all COVID appropriate behavior must be followed. In Jaipur, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.
Welcome back. There were raids at Anil Deshmukh's residence on Friday by the Enforcement Directorate. The former Maharashtra minister is under the scanner over allegations of corruption and misconduct. Here's a report.
An Enforcement Directorate team at Anil Deshmukh's residence searches at the former Maharashtra Home Minister's home in Nagpur and Mumbai. But Deshmukh's boss, Sharad Pawar, says these actions have become routine and there's nothing to worry.
अनिल देशमुख हे काही पहिलेच नाहीत, अनेकांना सत्तेचा या पद्धतीने वापर करण्याचा एक नवीन पायंडा आजच्या राज्यकर्त्यांनी दाखवलेला आहे. त्याच्यावर अधिक काय बोलण्याची आवश्यकता नाही. आम्हाला त्याची व्यक्तींची चिंता वाटत नाही.
Meanwhile, Anil Deshmukh says Parambir Singh's allegations against him are only the fallout of his removal from his post due to his suspicious role during the conspiracy to plant gelatin sticks outside industrialist Mukesh Ambani's home by accused like Sachin Vaze.
पुलिस कमिश्नर के पद से उनको जब हटाया गया क्योंकि उनका रोल बड़ा सस्पिशियस था, उनको जब हटाया गया, उनको हटाने के बाद में परमवीर सिंह कमिश्नर ऑफ पुलिस, माजी पुलिस कमिश्नर मुंबई, इन्होंने मेरे ऊपर झूठे आरोप किए.
Anil Deshmukh resigned as the Home Minister of Maharashtra in March this year after explosive allegations by former Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh.
The allegations by Parambir Singh against Anil Deshmukh were made in a letter addressed to the Maharashtra Chief Minister Uttar Thackeray. The Bombay High Court ordered a CBI probe in the matter. Meanwhile, Parambir Singh, former Police Commissioner of Mumbai, is also facing an investigation by the Maharashtra Police in a case of alleged extortion and corruption. A case has also been registered against him under the SCs and STs Act. But the Bombay High Court has given him protection from arrest.
The Maharashtra government has sought for removal of 2 paragraphs in the CBI's FIR against Anil Deshmukh, which deals with the transfer of police officers in the state. The state government has argued before the Bombay High Court that the central agency has gone beyond its mandate in its probe against Anil Deshmukh. The Bombay High Court has reserved its orders on Maharashtra government's plea.
The Enforcement Directorate, moving ahead on the CBI's FIR, has started a money laundering probe against Deshmukh. Earlier, the CBI had questioned Deshmukh in the corruption case registered on the orders of the Bombay High Court. But this case has huge political overtones, with the NCP, Shiv Sena and Congress saying the centre is misusing the Enforcement Directorate to target opposition parties.
लेकिन जिस प्रकार के केसेस में आज ये जांच एजेंसी को ढकेला जाता है, ये पूरी राजनीतिक मामला मुझे लगता है.
एजन्सीचा गैरवापर हे त्यांचं स्टाईल ऑफ ऑपरेशन दिसतंय. पण गेल्या अनेक वर्षात आपण ह्यांची सत्ता आल्यापासून आम्ही फार जवळून पाहिलेलं आहे. त्यांनी आदरणीय पवार साहेबांनाही ईडीची नोटीस पाठवली होती. त्याच्यामुळे तो अनुभव आम्ही सगळ्यांनी घेतलेला आहे.
जो कार्रवाई हो रही है वो माननीय उच्च न्यायालय, इन्होंने जो आदेश दिया और उस आदेश के तहत उन्होंने सीबीआई को जांच सौंपी है और उस जांच के तहत एजेंसियां जांच कर रही है. इसलिए इसको कोई भी राजनीतिक स्वरूप देना ये गलत बात है.
After completing searches at Anil Deshmukh's residence, the Enforcement Directorate has taken his personal secretary to their office for further questioning. Enforcement Directorate sources say they managed to uncover evidence of a money trail amounting to around ₹4 crore. And they add that summons will be issued to Anil Deshmukh after the questioning of his personal secretary is complete. With Arvind Gunasekar in New Delhi and Sohit Mishra in Mumbai, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Days after a case was filed against online news platform The Wire over tweets linked to the alleged assault of a man in Uttar Pradesh's Ghaziabad, the state police have filed another case against the news website, this time in Barabanki, over a documentary on the demolition of mosque in Barabanki, which the authorities describe as an unauthorized structure. In the last 14 months, the portal has faced 4 police cases in Uttar Pradesh. Alok Pandey reports.
The second FIR in less than 10 days by the UP police against the news portal The Wire. The latest case in Barabanki over this tweet by the portal on the demolition of a mosque inside a government office complex in May. An illegal construction, the government says.
वीडियो में कई गलत और तर्कहीन बयान दिए गए हैं. उनमें से एक बयान में कहा गया है कि प्रशासन पुलिस द्वारा एक धर्म विशेष के धार्मिक ग्रंथों को नदी और नालों में फेंक दिया गया.
ये पूर्ण रूप से असत्य है, ऐसी कोई घटना घटित नहीं हुई है।
The Sunni Waqf Board has gone in appeal to the Allahabad High Court, saying in court that the demolition of the mosque was a gross abuse of power. 2 days ago, the court issued a notice in this matter. In a statement, the Wire's founding editor Siddharth Vardarajan said, the portal will not be intimidated and that this case, like 3 others previously filed by the UP police in different matters, is baseless. On the 14th of June, the Ghaziabad police filed an FIR against the Wire for a tweet over the assault on a Muslim man. In February this year, the Rampur police filed an FIR against Mr. Vardarajan and another journalist over a report on the farmers' protest. And in April 2020, the Ayodhya police filed an FIR against Mr. Vardarajan over a report about a religious event in the temple town. Other journalists have also faced police cases in UP since Adityanath became Chief Minister in 2017. In 2019, a newspaper journalist in East UP's Mirzapur was booked for exposing salt and rotis in midday meals. After outrage, that case has been withdrawn. With Sarfaraz Varsi in Barabanki and Vineet Verma, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
Well, that's a wrap on this bulletin from the entire team. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.